there's this idyllic situation where you know, your chickens are happy and everything's great, I still do not believe you should eat the eggs. And the reason is that we need to identify as vegans. It's very important to identify as vegans. And if you're eating eggs, then you are an egg eater. And you know, I know there are some people, and I know some people actually that you know, only eat their chicken's eggs, and that's great if you can do that. You know, there are worse things in the world, but you know, at the same time, it's hard then to consider yourself a vegan or say you're vegan.
And
You know,
why do you feel so strongly about that, that we need to identify as vegan?
well, okay, because as long as we are considering eggs food, there's going to be exploitation of chickens somewhere. You know, I mean, it's great if you can get eggs from your neighbor where you know the chickens are happy and you know they're not going to slaughter the chickens and that's your source of eggs. That's great. But guess what? You know, there's 100,000 people living in Oakland that don't have that option.
Mhm.
And if you're eating eggs, they want to eat eggs too. We can't feed 7 billion people with backyard eggs. It just can't be done. That's the reason the scaling up of industrial farming has happened. You know, it's the only way we're able to feed as many people eggs. So it's unfair, I think, and also really kind of a privileged position, like being privileged that you live in a rural area that's wealthy enough to have backyards and space for chickens and the money for chickens. You know, it's we need to stop seeing eggs and dairy and flesh, for that matter, as food. It's
Mhm.
not food. You know, it's not food. We
Yeah,
need.
it seems like there's a line. You know, when I took me a long time, took me 10 years to get to vegan, but
Mhm.
thankfully I did. And then I realized it's a bit of a brain rewiring that no, you know what? It's not okay for me to wear these old wool socks anymore just because I've had them all this time and somebody already got, you know, had pain creating them. So therefore I'm honoring that body by wearing like you know, you play all these mind games with yourself, it seems to me, as you're progressing into the vegan. And then once you're here, it's just a whole different wiring. It's just like, no, that's wrong. These were created from pain and suffering, and I don't want anything to do with them. And they're carrying that energy, and they're a reminder of that pain and suffering. So I hear you, and I hear it's a totally elitist thing. I think if we think that, oh, well, I have my backyard. I mean, if you're lucky even to have a backyard, right?
Yeah, right.
And your chickens. So yeah, it's about rewiring our belief system back to where we were when we were children, I think, and when we all understood as children that you don't hurt these other creatures. They're for cuddling, and you know they're not ours to manipulate and exploit and profit from. We don't need to do it. It's causing us all great, enormous harm. Here we are inside our cages, right? And
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
yeah, it's a total rewiring. And I really
yeah.
appreciate being in the company of others who understand that, because you don't really understand it until you get there, it seems,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely. And interestingly, like you were talking about the socks. I mean, like there's, like you were saying, there's this kind of like gray area, you know, like the backyard eggs and the wool socks and things like that we were talking about. And sometimes, you know, you can't really see how, you know, getting rid of your wool socks is going to like create a vegan world. You know, it doesn't really translate as far as, you know, A plus B equals C. But there's, I think, a spiritual component there. You know, there's a, 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 a really embodying your ethics and living everything that you do, every move you make, every breath you take is for the animals, for compassion, for the planet. And, you know, there's an energy around everything, I believe. And I really think that that's, you know, where there is that beautiful, beautiful place when you come to veganism fully in and you realize, wow, you know, these things like these wool socks, it caused suffering. I don't want to be part of that. I can't be part of that.
Mhm.
And it's a freeing, it's really a freeing feeling. And I think deeply spiritual.